All right. So as I said, today's topic is proposal administrative details. We're kind of getting to the beginning of the end of the proposal process. We've already gotten a lot of the startup items out of the way. We've got requests out. Now for this part of the proposal, I want to show you a little bit about what these electronic portals look like. After you've gotten the proposal up and running, you want to get that application package downloaded and started to fill out. How to find and enter administrative information in there. And then we'll talk about creating and sending out subaward document requests, what needs to be in those and the timeline for that. And then also consultant document requests. And then also a Stanford internal requirement to identify and prepare the correct PI waiver if the person who's submitting is not already authorized to be a PI. So we'll talk about all those things today, just a little bit of everything in terms of, getting things pushed toward the finish line of the submission process. So of course, a lot of our discussion is about NIH. Their proposal system is called ASSIST. And so I will show you what it looks like, but just quickly to go over the slides, you do need an ERA Commons username. If you don't have one, that comes from RMG. So your research process manager at RMG has to create that for you. If you create one for yourself, that's fine, but it won't be affiliated with Stanford and you won't be able to see anybody or do anything with it. So there's no advantage. You need to just go right to RMG, ask them to create that for you and associate you with Stanford. So then what you do is initiate the application package using the funding opportunity announcement number. I say this so often about the funding opportunity announcement. I feel like I should have called the class funding opportunity announcement intensive because everything comes from that FOA, including this. And then, we talked a lot about making sure that that is the correct FOA and that it's open and how to find the open dates. That's because if you don't download the right package, you can't submit it. So really important to get that FOA right. And then where do you find the administrative information? You use the Do Research website, and I'll show that to you in a minute. There's an institutional facts page. And then I also use Stanford Who, because a lot of stuff like around people's addresses and phone numbers and job titles is on Stanford Who. And then I also use the PIF, the proposal intake form, to get the compliance details, animal subjects, human subjects, that kind of thing. Then you want to enter the subaward site information from the OSR form 33. We'll talk about that form in a minute, but that's where the address for the subsite and the PI's name is. And then we will learn about, you do need to get those commons usernames for the investigators. Those are on their biosketches. And there's also a way to look them up in ERA Commons. I'll show that to you. And then the human subject study record, if you need to initiate that. And just a little bit about naming the files. Just a quick note on naming the files. When you upload files into ASSIST, keep it simple, short, and unique. This is coming straight from NIH staff. Keep it short and sweet, and make sure that each name is unique. So this is what ASSIST looks like when you first log in. So if you want to initiate an application, again, you have that. You can see I've submitted a few here. So this would be your parent R01 announcement. You actually put that number right in and hit go. And then it pulls down the funding opportunity announcement information, the parent R01. And then you can actually put in here, if you don't know yet, you can put TBD. That's okay. You can change that to the title later. But I would strongly encourage you have to put the PI's name in here, because if you don't put the PI's name in when you download the package later on, no one can find that application. Even the RMG, which has access to every application initiated at Stanford. I've had RPMs tell me, I can't find this application because you added the PI name after the fact. So what I always do is I do get that ERA Commons username and I pre-fill it, because that way it's going to link automatically to the PI's ERA Commons account. So I want to show you this this way that you can it's kind of a hack really for how to get in a Commons username for anybody at Stanford. You can do it this way. If you go into the status tab and you go to the admin tab up here on the left side, there's this thing where you can delegate access to the grants to another user. And when you're working in post-award with a PI, you would send them the instructions so they can add you, so you can see their progress reports and that kind of thing. But here, all we want to do is just find somebody and find their Commons username. So I'm going to put in Nancy here, I just put in her last name and first name and hit search, and check it out. Here's her Commons ID. Now, I haven't delegated anything to her yet. I mean, I would have to select these roles and then, submit them. I'm not going to do that, but I can find the Commons username right here. And then I can go back into the application. If Nancy was the PI, I could just put, Lonhart.Nancy, and then boom, I've got that associated with the PI name. So I'm not going to keep going with this because I'm not actually going to download the package right now, but I will show you, because I have one already set up. I have an application that I'm working on right now. So once you download the package, you'll get an email and it gives you the assist ID. And so this is the ID of one that I'm looking for. I can hit search and then I can select it. It's a work in progress. So this is what it looks like when you actually get it downloaded into Assist. There's the basic info in the first tab, and then you navigate it across the top here. So the first one is the R&R cover, and see here, there's a blue button called edit. Right now I can't edit anything, but once I hit that blue button, all the stuff becomes fillable, the radio buttons, the dates, and so on. And then now I'm getting down into the applicant information. Now, first thing you'll notice is it doesn't say Stanford, does it? It says Board of Trustees of the Leland Stanford Junior University. What in the world are we talking about here? So this is where knowing your institutional facts becomes important. So I'm going to go to Stanford, do research, institutional facts. Again, this is my daily plug for using Google to find Stanford resources. Use the word Stanford in combination with what you're looking for. So this is a tool. So see right here, applicant organization name. This is what you refer to find out what to put into your Assist application. It's got the name, it's got the tax status. Some sponsors will ask for different details like number of employees. Here's the employer identification number. Be sure to click show more. Here's your DUNS number. This is required for any federal application. The rate, remember we talked about rates, talked a lot about rates on Monday. You can click through for that right there. Then there's this human subjects approval number that you would have to put in if you have human subjects. Same with animal subjects. It's right here, D16, et cetera, et cetera. There's a section for the cognizant audit agency. Sometimes you have to list that. So if you're ever trying to find some kind of fact about Stanford, go to this page. I also want to point out, if you don't already know this about about do research, you can add it to your favorites if you log in with your name up here in this button. It comes up with you see, welcome. It has my SUNET and it has, the eCert system and rates. I just love rates and institutional facts. And so you can save this stuff so that you can quick reference it later. So that's where you find that information. Now we're down to our RPM. The RPM for this submission is going to be Sandra Wong Martin. How do I know her job title is correct? This is where I go into Stanford Who. I just go right into Stanford Who. I put the person's name in, and I think this is really important. I look up every faculty member in here because sometimes even when you look up their Commons ID, maybe they didn't update their job title. Maybe they got promoted from assistant to associate professor, but they never updated their Commons profile. And so you need to go in and make that change. But so here's the RPM working on this submission. Here's her title. I've got her phone number and her address and everything down here. And so that's what I'm going to use to populate all this info, right? So everything down here, I can save and release the lock. And then I'm good to go. Now it says I don't have the funding, and that's because the RPM at RMG always puts in the funding. So that's always going to kick that error until Sandra enters the budget for this submission. So here we have the vertebrate animal section. This is where I say to use the PIF. Look up the PIF, the proposal intake form, and see what you and the PI created for the compliance information so that you know how to answer. And same thing with this tab, are human subjects involved? Are vertebrate animals used? That's going to be in your PIF. Most of the rest of these answers are always no. And then here's where you're going to start to see some places to actually do some uploading. This is where you hit the edit button and you can go in and add the attachment and upload the PDFs here. Again, it has to be in PDF, unique file name, 50 characters or less, and keep it simple. A lot of times I just call it what it is: abstract, project narrative, facilities. Like, keep it simple. You don't have to have a lot of different things going on here. Sites, of course, Stanford is our prime site. This is the PI's address. And then if you had a subaward site, you would add a site here. You just click the add site button, and then you'd add all that information. Under senior key profile, these are all the PIs and co-Is who are considered key personnel in the application. You would list each one of these people, and this is where you would upload their bio sketches. So you can go in and edit. Of course, the PI's name is already here, pre-filled. His Commons profile still says assistant professor, but he's associate, so I always change that. And then here I would add the attachment right here where it says add biographical sketch. Just a quick note, you don't have to submit current and pending support with the proposal. So you can ignore that button. That comes at the just-in-time phase. We'll talk about that in a later session. And then this research plan tab, this is where the core science, you maybe recall me talking about in the timeline about how the core science tends to come last. That's these documents here, the specific aims and the research strategy. Again, these are the places you would upload that, as well as some of these kind of non-core scientific documents like vertebrate animals, letters of support, resource sharing plan, and stuff like that. And then you heard me mention if you do have human subjects, and you need to add a study record, you would do that here by hitting edit. And then you have the option of creating a study record based on, it would come to me if I said, yes, I would have that option, but this particular proposal doesn't have that option. So that's the general, I would say. The other thing, you can pull up a previous proposal that the PI has submitted, but I do not recommend that you copy it word for word. It's nice to have a sample to kind of get a sense, but every proposal is unique. The compliance areas are always different. And you may be working with the different RPMs, so don't just copy stuff over, just be aware that sometimes it's good to have a sample to kind of work off of. Right. Okay. So then let's say you've done all this uploading, kind of what we went through in the timeline, and now you want to go back to the application. There's two things you can do when you click return to application, which is actually where I am now. One is I can validate the application. Now this again only works once the RPM has entered the budget. Until then, the R&R cover is going to be incomplete because the budget's not entered. But once that's done, you can validate it, and it'll tell you if there's a file that you've uploaded that is the wrong size, or if you're missing a required document, or if a required document is more pages than are allowable. And sometimes when you PDF, maybe a blank page will get stuck on the end and you don't realize it, and then you upload it, and this will be really helpful. And then the other thing you can do is preview the application. And when you preview the application, what you're doing is you click generate preview, and this is going to generate a PDF of the whole thing. And then you can use that at the end of the submission process to show the PI exactly what the proposal looks like. And I use this to email to the PI and say, here's how your proposal looks. Please let me know if you want to make any changes at all. And they can get back to you with changes. But here's what it looks like. This is not much in this yet. We haven't uploaded any documents yet, but you can kind of see where I've put in the answers that we've discussed.